Welcome to the 15th Annual Johnson Depression Center Luncheon with special guest Gracie Gold. Please find your table and be seated. We will begin in just a moment.
Lead me to my own devices. It's better when your Coca-Cola eyes are out of my face. I checked your phone and no surprises. She's grinning from ear to ear in purple lace. So take your orchids elsewhere, elsewhere. I loved you to death, but now I don't really care, 'cause you're running around over there. Yeah, you're running around over there. And now I don't really care, 'cause you're running around over there. And now I don't really care, 'cause you're running around over there. I'll miss your t-shirt in the rain, the one that makes you look like Jared Way, eating grapes in the back of the party, throwing hands 'cause she drank your Bacardi. I know it's kinda dumb, but I miss the way you dressed all punk, with the black and the studs and the ripped up gloves. Bet she loved your tough guy front. So take your orchids elsewhere, elsewhere. I loved you to death, and now I don't really care, 'cause you're running around over there. Yeah, you're running around over there. And now I don't really care, 'cause you're running around over there. And now I don't really care, 'cause you're running around over there.
Now we're going even lower.
right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. If we could get everybody to make their way into their seats, we're going to start our program in about 1 minute. Thank you so much for being here for the Johnson Depression Center. We will start our program in 1 minute.
Please welcome our MC for the Johnson Depression Center's 15th Annual Luncheon, Reggie Rivers.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that smattering of applause. Don't worry about it. I met Samantha here. She's going to be our patient speaker a little bit later. She was telling me how big a fan her dad is of me and my career, but she's too young to have watched me play. And so as always, I have to do this constantly here in Denver because not everybody is aware. Savannah, I'm commonly referred to as the greatest Denver Bronco in the history of the franchise. So, that's why your dad was so glad that you were going to get to meet me today. And that's why that smattering of applause happened. That's part of it. 15 years we've been doing this luncheon. And yes, this is the 15th annual Helen and Arthur E. Johnson Depression Center Luncheon. And it's been amazing. If you've been here before, you know what it's all about. You know the emphasis on mental health. You know about the stigma on mental health. You know the amazing speakers that they bring in and all the power and emphasis that the CU Depression Center brings to this issue. And so you're going to learn a lot, as you always do when you're here. If you're here for the first time, you're in for a treat. I think this is a wonderful program. I am a former Denver Bronco. Our Broncos won last Sunday. So all is right with the world. And could we have a brief moment of silence for the Las Vegas Raiders? They're on a 4-game losing streak, and honestly, I couldn't be happier. I have to stop myself from jumping up and down in the streets. It's just, okay, all right, that's fine. All right, so this event would not be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. And so, as we do every year, we like to recognize our sponsors in a football form of one synchronized clap. Because if you were in the huddle with Bo Nix and he called a play like Dre Wright, flip flop up, X post, Z waggle, H and Y switch on one. Ready? 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 Oh, you guys are quick studies. So, we're going to recognize each of our sponsor with one clap on ready. So our leader sponsor is the CU Foundation. Ready? Our friend sponsors, Bridget and John Greer. Ready? Justin Swader. Ready? The Anschutz Foundation. Ready? The Uyghurs Family Foundation. Ready? Sue and Walt Rakowicz. Ready? Our advocate sponsors, Amanda Precourt. Ready? Carol and Dirk McDermott. Ready? Community builder sponsors, Ann and we have some possible future Raiders. As I always say, I don't mean to denigrate the Raiders or their fans, but if you are a Raiders fan, denigrate means to put down. Our community builder sponsors, Ann and Doug Sparks, ready? Ann and Kevin Reedy, ready? Marcy and Bruce Benson, ready? Department of Psychiatry, ready? David Orlovsky and Casey Veo, ready? KPMG and Lisa Hackard, ready? Megan and Evan Zucker, ready? Nikki and Bruno Dari, ready? Did I say that right? Okay, good, thank you. Megan and Steve Schoflick, ready? Richmond American Foundation, ready? RK Foundation, ready? Sharon Martin, ready? The Flug Family Foundation, ready? The Salah Foundation, ready? UC Health, ready? Westside Investments, ready? How about a big round of applause for all of our sponsors? And I see a young man in the crowd I haven't seen in a couple of years, George Carl, former Nuggets coach. Stand up, George. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. As a great coach, we appreciate you being here. All right, so now it is my pleasure to introduce another great coach. And he has given me some very specific instructions on how to introduce him. I'm just going to read it straight from your script. He is the most amazing, the most incredible, the most intelligent, the most talented, the most committed. He is the new executive director of the Johnson Depression Center. Please welcome Dr. Chris Schneck.
Okay, well, for those who don't know me, I'm Christopher Schneck, and I've been a psychiatrist at the CU Department of Psychiatry for the last 30 years. And I started working at the then newly formed Depression Center in 2008. I became its medical director in 2013, and I'm honored to be appointed as the JDC's third executive director. It has taken me all those years to finally share the stage with Reggie Rivers, and I will tell you the advice he gave me right before I came up here, which was, don't screw it up. Well, I'd like to welcome all of you to this year's 15th Annual Depression Center Luncheon. If I have a theme for today's talk, my brief talk, it's really one of gratitude. The first being for the weather. If you came last year, it was a blizzard, and so it's nice to have a nice fall day here. And I'm grateful for the incredible support and so many people that have put on not just today's luncheon, but have helped support the Depression Center throughout all the years and helping fulfill our mission in improving the lives of Coloradans who suffer from mood disorders. First and foremost, I want to give special thanks to Dr. Neil Epperson. She's been the executive director since 2021, a job that was in addition to running the entire Department of Psychiatry as its chair. And her work at the JDC has helped expand the reach of the Depression Center and its reach into the community. It's helped to bolster its prominence in the national network of depression centers. It's expanded treatment options for patients by adding programs in esketamine, transcranial magnetic stimulation, and ECT. She has broadened our research in mood disorders and extended our educational outreach into more Colorado communities. So please join me in thanking Dr. Epperson. I'd also like to thank the Luncheon Committee and its chair, David Orlovsky. You can imagine by looking around this room how much time, effort, and planning goes into an event like this. Could I please have the members of the Luncheon Committee stand, and just to give them a round of applause. Thank you. I'd also like to thank Elizabeth Peros, our JDC board chair, and the members of our JDC board for their consistent effort and support for the Depression Center. I do want to give a shout out to Dr. Matt Mishkind, our deputy director of the JDC, and also Brittany Pittman, both of whom have worked tirelessly on making today's luncheon happen. A special thanks to our associate clinic director, Dr. Dana Steitman, to my fellow providers at the JDC, and our terrific support staff, many of whom are here today. I think our wonderfully supportive environment that we have in our clinic really helps us deliver exceptional care to our patients. Speaking of patients, I do want to thank Savannah Spears today for being our patient speaker and being willing to share part of her story and experiences at the Depression Center. I wanted to share some very brief highlights from the Depression Center over the last year, and I'm hoping some slides come up. On the clinical side, we did about 14,300 visits, serving nearly 1,000 unique patients, and we successfully launched our mood disorders intensive outpatient program, which is a 6-week, 3 days per week group treatment program for people suffering from mood disorders. In our community programs work, spearheaded by Alex Yannicone and Matt Mishkind, we completed 489 trainings in Vital Cog, which is a suicide prevention program, and we did 128 trainings in our community programs work that promotes other educational aspects of mental health and well-being in our communities. And in research, we've been recruiting for an innovative study on the use of ketogenic diets in managing mood symptoms in youth and young adults with bipolar disorder. So it is through all of this work that we hope to transform the lives of those suffering from depression and bipolar disorder. And in the spirit of transforming lives, this year's speaker describes her own transformation from 2-time national figure skating champion and Olympic medalist to mental health advocate. I read Gracie Gold's book called Out of Shape, Worthless Loser. Apologies, Gracie, I'm not going to read the subtitle since we do have some younger people here. And in it, she describes her journey in a bold, compelling, and at times raw fashion. And I very much appreciate Gracie spending time with us this afternoon and sharing her story. I've been attending this luncheon for the last 15 years, and I have to say that each year I am so struck by the support that it brings from the community. And because I started working at the JDC in 2008, I had the honor and privilege of working with 2 folks that we are honoring here today. The first is Heather Mulvihill. You will hear more about Heather in a few moments, but I'd like to say how important her leadership as the first JDC board director was, how important her passion was when the Depression Center could have easily lost its direction and faltered. And without someone like her working tirelessly and constantly to move the Depression Center to the next level, I don't think we'd be having this sort of affair today. So Heather, I am so grateful for all of your work. The second person, of course, is George Wiegers, whose vision and generosity allowed not only the JDC to exist, but helped create the entire national network of depression centers, a consortium now of 27 universities, including international partners. It is an incredibly important and enduring legacy. Having known George over the years, I was always struck by his kindness, how down-to-earth he was, his generosity of spirit, and his desire to make the world a better place, brought forth by the difficult experiences he had had being raised by a mother who suffered from bipolar disorder. He did not want others to go through what he had endured, and he channeled his experiences, his energy, and his resources to create an entire system to help others. So I do want to thank all of you for being here today, and I ask that you watch this brief video about the JDC with a focus on George Wiegers, whom we lost late last year. Thank you.
She spent a lot of my junior high and high school years. She was back and forth in hospital. I always thought, well, if I ever got the opportunity, I would maybe see if I could do something about that. And that's really what lie behind the whole idea of the Depression Center.
The Helen and Arthur E. Johnson Depression Center is one of the largest clinics in the Department of Psychiatry, and we treat patients who primarily have mood disorders, depression and bipolar disorder, along with often anxiety disorders and other what we call comorbid disorders.
The Johnson Depression Center was founded in 2008 by George Wiegers,
who had a vision of expanding mental health care to those who did not have great access to it.
I was reading editorial or an op-ed piece in the New York Times written by a man named Solomon. He described a dream that a physician, John Greedon, had been proposing called the National Network of Depression Centers. He described his ambition, which was to organize the medical schools at 23 of the great universities around the country. And I thought, well, maybe this is something that I can help you with. I understand how to put businesses together, and I'll help you organize the network. After that phase, I said, well, maybe I'll take on the job of starting the Depression Center at the University of Colorado. I said, if I put up the money, I need you to provide the resources, the physical space, and people who can start this business.
George's legacy is huge, and I think that it's really changed the face of mental health care in Colorado. He's really improved access to excellent mental health care and creative ways of getting there.
Heather Mulvihill was my first recruit, really. And Heather, with her enthusiasm and her understanding of what we're doing, became an extraordinary part of the whole enterprise.
We're here because of George's vision, and we've expanded and we've gotten to the place we are because of Heather.
We have a range of educational programs at the JDC, ranging from stress management to suicide prevention. We offer about 25 programs. All of them have been developed based on community need. Heather was such a foundational piece to community programs. She really found the need to reach out to people and meet people where they are. Educating people and meeting them in their workplace or in their communities was the best way to have people learn more about their own mental health and how to access services and resources if needed. This ripple effect that we see with it is pretty incredible, and I really don't see us slowing down. It's been really incredible to see how our community programs has grown, and really how the foundation started with George Wiegers and Heather Mulvihill, and really seeing that their work is what grew it to what it is today.
George's original vision was really focused on clinical services and getting those clinical services out to individuals who just did not have access to care. From that vision, we now have research, we now have our community programs, and we do a lot more workforce development. We have interns, we have fellows. In the last couple of years, we've also started to bring in undergraduate students who are interested in the mental health field.
I'm from a small town in West Tennessee, and back home, mental health is just not discussed. It's not part of the day-to-day. It's something you don't talk about. Coming to Colorado, I wanted to get a better understanding of mental health, where it's openly discussed and how impactful it can be to everyone's life. The Purple program is the psychiatry undergrad research program learning experience. Matt and I are researching mental health stigma in construction and athletics. As an undergrad, the JDC has tremendous opportunities for my future. Looking now, after I graduate, I would love to go to med school and become a psychiatrist, and then eventually come back to the JDC and practice here.
Workforce development is a future for the Depression Center. It helps to carry George and Heather's vision forward.
It's very personal. You feel as though this is a family. And I feel as though I have taken good care of my family and moved them into something that is useful and appealing and be beneficial to their practices, to their patients.
It is frankly hard for me to express my gratitude to George and to Heather and the Depression Center. It's been my clinical home since 2008.
This is a job that I am incredibly proud of and wake up every day that I'm thankful that I have. And I 100% give credit to George and Heather for allowing me to do this work.
I'm grateful for my position, but I'm also grateful that they've been able to provide so much to people directly and to so many people, not just in the country, but across the world.
My hope is we will continue to expand the care of patients throughout the state We'll continue to expand our educational programs, our community programs. We continue to eliminate stigma, we continue to treat folks, and we do research in mood disorders, and we are trying to expand our portfolio of research in that area.
I guess my legacy best would be that I made things happen by engaging people. I'm a builder.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Peros, and I am board chair of the Johnson Depression Center. I am very grateful that you are all here today as part of the JDC's 15th annual luncheon. This luncheon has become an important event for changing how we think about, talk about, and take action to elevate the role of mental health care. Over time, the luncheon has brought together more than 6,000 people, and we've raised over $6 million to help the JDC research, treat, and prevent mental illness while developing the next generation of mental health professionals. We are all here to figure it out and shine a spotlight on mental health. I want to also thank our amazing luncheon committee, David, and your committee. You should be proud of your work and proud of the work that the committee has done today. Thank you. I also want to thank the entire JDC board. This is a group of individuals who are passionate about raising awareness of mental health care and implementing change. The numbers I mentioned a minute ago are a direct result of the board's hard work and dedication. The work isn't easy, and it takes a group of uniquely committed individuals to make it happen. I am proud to say that each board member gave to the luncheon this year and brought people to this event today. The training and education programs that you saw in the video are all possible because of the vision of the board and the support of this luncheon. These programs simply would not exist without the luncheon. I also want to mention the board's commitment to educating the next generation of mental health professionals. There are several people in the room today who received professional supervision through the Johnson Depression Center. The board is deeply committed to doing our part to enhance and increase the excellent mental health professionals and to treat mental health care. To all current and former board members in the audience, thank you. Each one of you has set the bar high. I want to now transition to the award we are giving today. As you saw in the video, we would not be here if it were not for the vision, commitment, and generosity of George Wiegers. We lost George last year, and with his passing, we lost a leader, someone who was humble, compassionate, and devoted to his family and friends. His vision touches everything we do. Thank you, George. A testament to George's wisdom is who he recruited to be the first chair of the JDC board. That person is Heather Mulvihill. Heather is the inaugural honoree of the George Wiegers Memorial Award. Selecting Heather was a unanimous decision. The Johnson Depression Center does not exist without Heather's tireless dedication, her commitment to excellence, her engaging personality, her intelligence, and her empathy for others. I was able to serve on the board when Heather was chair. I watched her, I learned from her, and now work to emulate her in my actions. As a therapist herself, Heather was instrumental to the expansion of the JDC's clinical services. This included renovating space in the JDC's old offices, specifically for treating younger patients, and with the hiring of clinicians with expertise to treat them. With an understanding of best practices, Heather had the desire to lead the field with cutting-edge and evidence-based treatments. Telehealth is commonplace now, but it wasn't when Heather served as board chair. Yet she regularly encouraged its use to provide more accessible treatment options. To put some numbers to it, Under Heather's board leadership, the JDC increased its number of visits by 393% between 2014 and 2020. Heather is an amazing connector. She understands that mental health care is woefully underfunded. Her connections and dedication to elevating mental health care to its rightful place within the larger healthcare system put the JDC and a lot of other programs on the fundraising map. She put mental health care on the radar screen to fight for things like insurance reimbursement and equitable facilities. And she brought people together from all walks of life to talk about their own stories and to realize there is no shame in needing help. I cannot say who brought the idea of the luncheon, but I can tell you who raised it to the next level. It was Heather. I know firsthand that being board chair is challenging, and many of those in the room can tell you how hard it is to spearhead the luncheon. Heather remains the only person who served as both board chair and luncheon committee chair at the same time. And she didn't do it once or twice. She did it several years in a row. It takes someone with almost superhuman dedication to be able to hold both positions and to do them well. Heather made the luncheon a go-to event, and I can tell you that a lot of people admire our success. Heather was also instrumental in the creation of our community programs, which are some of the best across the national network of depression centers. What started off as 100% free community training on suicide prevention has grown to over 25 programs that have international reach. Close to 60,000 people have directly received training or education through these programs, and we know that each person participating in one of our trainings talks to 5 other people. So you could really say that over 300,000 people have benefited from our programs. Heather had the vision back in 2016 to make this a part of the JDC, and her dedication to it never wavered. The George Wiegers Memorial Award is awarded in recognition of the significant contributions to the mission of the Johnson Depression Center. Heather, I could go on and on about all the ways you not only made significant contributions to the JDC, but also set and drove that mission. You made this place what it is, set it up for ongoing success, and your contributions will live on with all the lives touched by the JDC. And while you are getting this award for your contributions to the JDC mission, it should not be left unsaid that you deserve to be recognized for how you made people feel. I think it is very fitting that we are giving this award to Heather on behalf of George, as today is World Mental Health Day. The objective of World Mental Health Day is to raise awareness of mental health issues around the world and to mobilize efforts in support of mental health. Heather, you live and breathe that objective, and you continue to carry George's vision forward. Heather and Alex, will you please join me on stage? From everyone here and everyone who has been touched by your dedication and contributions, thank you. You are so very deserving of this award.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. This is a tremendous honor for me to be a recipient of an award in George Wiegers' name. George was a friend and a mentor to me. He taught me that philanthropy isn't just about a gift, but that it's truly an investment. George gave so generously himself and with such precise purpose. His goal was for more people to have better access to excellent mental health care, and the C.U. Johnson Depression Center would not exist if it weren't for George's wisdom and generosity. I'd like to thank the Wiegers family, Connie and Alex, for continuing George's legacy. I'd like to thank Bruce Benson and Don Elliman and Scott Arthur for prioritizing mental health care. I'd like to thank Neil Epperson and Chris Schneck, Matt Mishkind, and everyone here today who works to make this happen. I now have the honor of introducing our next speaker, Savannah Spears. Savannah is going to share a bit about her experience and the care that she received at the Depression Center. When George founded the Depression Center, his first goal was to provide access to quality care that his and many other families struggled to find. I imagine that George is smiling right now with gratitude to you, Savannah. Thank you for sharing your journey with us today, And with that, let's welcome Savannah to the stage. Thank you.
Hello. As you just heard, my name is Savannah, and I'm here to discuss my story. Before I get into it, I want to play something for you that represents what used to be my reality. For those of you who have seen Inside Out 2, my head used to feel similar to the scene where Riley had a panic attack with multiple conflicting emotions.
I should have done better.
just
I'm
don't
not
think I
worthy
can
of my
keep doing
accomplishments.
It feels
in
like
my
everyone
life.
is staring at me today. Like,
What if I fail? I cannot believe
no one's gonna
I
miss
just
me.
really feel like I can't do this
Such an
anymore.
idiot.
The sounds you just heard was what my head used to do a lot. Maybe you were confused by it. Were you trying to hear different sentences? Well, if you didn't really understand what was going on and found it overwhelming, that's how I felt trying to navigate it. So, once again, I'm Savannah, and I'm here to tell you about who you see. I don't see a picture yet, that's okay. There's supposed to be a picture on the bottom of the screen, and when you see it, that's me at age 17. And then the two photos on top are gonna be me at my youngest sister's graduation, and me with a few of my closest friends much more recently. So I was a very high-achieving kid with big dreams. In middle school, I was content, successful, well-versed, and I wanted to attend Harvard for college. During my freshman year of high school, I mostly obtained A's and got a B+ in my advanced math class. I also began struggling with several health problems, my knees being one of them. It was painful to walk, and I was in and out of doctor's appointments. I started to have more intense negative thoughts and feelings, and I remember thinking that B+ would rule me out for Harvard. I started putting more pressure on myself, but more importantly, I extrapolated and generalized the disappointment I felt within myself. I had a constant feeling of not being good enough. If I wasn't cut out for Harvard, what good was I? How could I let my academics slip? The societal pressure waned me. Surprisingly, this happening at an extremely vulnerable point in my life is not unique. 50% of mental disorders have an onset before the age of 18. Looking back on my life, I now remember depression being present as early as 8th grade. Onset before age 14 occurs in approximately 1/3 of cases. As a teen, music and marching band was a huge component of my identity. Shortly after my season ended my sophomore year, I self-harmed, which was my first distinct mental break, and began my unwilling descent into darkness. Everything snowballed and my mental health problems took over my entire life, affecting every decision or lack thereof. My internal monologue started to feel like it was overtaken by strangers, yet somehow had so much control over me. Sometimes my depression was so bad, or my obsessive compulsive tendencies were so extensive, that they felt unbearable. By my senior year, I had no motivation to apply to colleges or to work, even though I had a job. The girl who was excited to go to Harvard ended up applying to one college without having to even write an essay, which seemingly every other collegiate-bound student had picked their university. Ironically, what kept me going was my anxiety disorder. I was so fearful of criticism and disappointing people that I still was high-achieving and did not always show the typical symptoms of depression. My depression was kept guarded by misconceptions, stigma, and therefore was kept a secret. During that year, I had a regular checkup with my pediatrician. At the office, they started doing an inventory for depression. I made a choice to answer honestly, and in that moment attempted a last-ditch effort to get myself help. At this point, I was constantly suicidal. That's all I thought about. I felt a level of low that I don't believe words in any language have the ability to describe, that any media could portray, and more importantly, that anyone should have to feel. The physician began to ask me a few basic questions about my life, and then told me I was feeling this way because I was self-centered. I received a call a few weeks later, perhaps she had regrets. I came back and saw the other pediatrician who knew something was wrong. I felt seen for the first time in a long time, and it was there that I realized that depression is not a passing feeling, but is a state of being. I then had to wait several more months. I was referred to a medical resident, a psychiatrist, and I saw her for the first several months. I then got referred to the Depression Center, and that referral changed my life. The first psychiatrist at the Depression Center, Dr. Donahue, recognized that treatment was not working. She was able to make the conclusion that I had bipolar disorder. Upon hearing this, I admit I felt completely defeated. I knew it was lifelong and incurable, and I had previously operated under the assumption that I would one day feel completely better. However, despite my initial disappointment, that diagnosis was a crucial step in the right direction. I was able to get on a treatment plan that worked, and I began to feel the depression subsiding. During this time, I attended college downtown, and I continued to realize that depression is an ongoing treatment and recovery process, and it's not always linear. There were still many times that my depression was so severe, I would often think about how high the buildings were and about jumping off of them. But through treatment and patience and self-forgiveness, I was able to keep moving forward. For years, I had called myself crazy and attributed my mental health struggles to personal faults. I blamed myself for everything that happened and had ever happened to me, and I almost lost my life for it. Treatment changed the trajectory of my life story. My current psychiatrist, Dr. Melissa Batt, is phenomenal, and I have seen her for several years. She was able to unravel the web of problems I had going on. They were fragile, complex, and extensive. She met me where I felt stranded and provided the necessary guidance and listening skills to manage my symptoms. Dr. Batt has even redirected me and had a sense of humility, admitting when certain areas, such as OCD, are not her strong suit. She directed me to an intensive outpatient program this year that has significantly helped me and has paid such close attention to my symptoms that after college, when I was still experiencing tiredness and fatigue, she directed me to a sleep physician and I found out that I have narcolepsy. I honestly am in disbelief that medical care across facilities, states, and the country as a whole are not in line with this type of care for patients. Everyone deserves this level of care when they are struggling. All three providers I've seen at the JDC have been great. Mental health is amplified by the already intense stigma around it that for a long time I did not open up, for I felt an overwhelming sense of fear of what people would think. However, keeping these feelings inside was more damaging than anything anyone could have said to me. I now better understand that how we view disappointment or failure can change, and life does not end after things go as unplanned. But don't be fooled. I still experience many trials in relationships, school, work, and other aspects of my life. Tuesdays have become my therapy days, taking my life back days, the days where I can talk about anything and everything, and I'm grateful for that. So, what do? I believe that having conversations around these topics is the best way to disband certain ideologies that are connotated with conditions like bipolar disorder and OCD. How many times have you heard someone say, I'm so OCD but blank? Living in Colorado, I've even heard, the weather is so bipolar here. While this language sounds relatively simple, it's harmful in practice. My entire identity is not bipolar disorder or OCD or narcolepsy, and despite everything, I graduated college and also minored in general music and psychology. I held 2 student jobs while in college, and I've worked as a loss prevention supervisor, individually recovering over $95,000 in a year. My aspirations are clear, and I have believed in myself enough to apply to modeling agencies, take acting classes at the DCPA, travel, and make my life what I want it to be. I no longer feel miserable. While I still have lows, they're manageable, and I have not had a manic episode in over 2 years now. I have wonderful friends. A few of them are sitting right over there. I do, however, think it's much more important to say that I actually like myself. I am able to breathe and feel the love around me, and my treatment has allowed me to show up as more of myself. I often say that one of the best parts of life now is that I simply did not expect to be around this long, so I don't place a lot of pressure on myself. Instead, I simply try to enjoy life, and I'm really lucky I got treatment while I was young. Much like the theme today, my story is one of figuring it out. It's a story about resilience, perseverance, finding joy, and ultimately continuation. It's also a story of the realities that treatment might not mean cure, but rather management. And I'm sure most everyone here today can understand me when I say that we all manage something every day, and those things are often hidden. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Savannah. We appreciate your sharing your story with us, and very powerful. And as you were talking, I wrote down a level of low that's hard to describe, and that really kind of encapsulates what it is you're describing, and your comments about how the Depression Center helped you find what the issues were. And it's not a light switch that, hey, once we identify what this is, we flip the switch and it goes away. It's a path, and you're on that path, and the Depression Center has helped many, many other people get on that path as well. All right, so the JDC directly impacts thousands of people every year through its clinical and educational services, but for every person trained, there's about 5.5 other people who are indirectly impacted through conversations about the training. Another key fact is that the independent review of the JDC's Vital COG suicide prevention program found that for every dollar invested in the program, there's been between an $8 and $28 social return on investment. So your help to support the JDC's research and program dissemination activities has a multiplier effect throughout our communities. And so we like to, on your tables, everyone has a flashlight that's on your table. Pick up your little flashlight. I'm going to ask you not to flash it in people's faces, but to aim it up at the sky, and don't turn them on yet, but when I'm going to list a few things, and if it applies to you, then I want you to turn your flashlight on and leave it pointed at the sky. If you have ever been impacted by suicide in your family or friend group, turn your flashlight on. If you are a caretaker of someone with mental illness, turn your flashlight on. If you've ever felt that you needed mental health care, turn your flashlights on. If you want a better understanding of mental illness, treatment, and prevention, turn your flashlights on. If you think that we need to do more to prevent and treat mental illness, turn your flashlights on. All of us are impacted by mental health. We all have our own mental health. We all have the mental health of our families and people in our communities. It's an important thing that we often don't talk about very much, but the Depression Center is focused exclusively on helping our community with this difficult issue. All right, so we've reached the time in our program where we're going to do a paddle raiser, where we can all get involved to help fund the Depression Center's mission and continue their great success. Each of you is given a paddle number when you checked in. Can we get all of you to hold those up? Let's take some pictures to put on social media. Doesn't cost you anything at the moment. Just hold them up high. Let's get come on up here, Steve, from the stage, and take a few pictures of everybody. So look, while you've got those raised up, look around this room. Look at the size of the team that we have in this room. Alone, any one of us can only do so much, but we have a huge team in this room. If we all participate together, we can make a big impact for the Johnson CU Depression Center. All right, so what we're going to do is you can lower your paddles now. We're going to start at a high level. We're going to work our way down, and I hope that each of you who just now raised your paddle will raise it at least one more time today when you hear a level that matches your means and matches your commitment. And we're going to start off at $10,000. Is there anyone who would like to donate $10,000 now? Number 472, number 121. Thank you. Number 792, thank you very much. Anyone else at $10,000? All right, that was 3 people at $10,000, and I think we've got our running total up there. That's $30,000 raised so far as a team, and guess what? We have a lot of team members left in the room. How about $5,000 donors tonight? Number 174, thank you. Number 473, thank you. Number 298, number 362, number 361, number 768, number 271, number 149, number 107, number 445. How many was added? That was 10 people at $5,000. Look at that. Oh, we've got another one, number 796. Thank you very much. Thank you. Is there anyone else at $5,000? Right now we're at we're at 85. if we had one more person at $5,000, we would stay on this nice even number. I know 85,000 is an even number. I'm not a reader. All right, so let's move on to our next level. And before we do, we have a $25,000 matching gift at the $2,500 level. And so we need to get 10 people at least at $2,500 to earn this match. We're going to start off number 794, thank you again. Number 167, number 481, number 499, number 134, number 127, number 233, number 112. How many was that? That was 8. Do we have 2 more people at $2,500? Number 121, number 473 again. Thank you very much. I'm on to you, Mobile Hill family. I know you've made 3 donations so far. That's the way you play this game, everybody, just in case you're wondering. That's how you get the award, is that? All right, so that was $25,000 in the room. That was $25,000 of the match. We're at $135,000 raised so far as a team. Our next level, now we're getting into the territory where more and more of us can participate. We have a lot of team members still in the room. How about $1,000 this afternoon? $1,000? Number 404, number 320, number 438, number 231, number 241, number 422, number 281, number 138, number 151, number 141, number 778, number 416, number 321, number 775, number 177, number 354, number 123, number 457, number 109, number 406, number 744, number 414, number 788, number 446, number 287. I think I read yours, ma'am, but maybe I might have said number 744. If I did, that's a mistake. I apologize to whoever that is. It's number 774 is the correct number. Number 334, number 797, number 451, number 146, number 431, number 371, number 408, number 780, number 351, number 328, number 103, number 111, number 781, number 464. How many was that? That was 39. Oh, we just need one more. Do we have one? Number 767, thank you very much. We're at $176,000 raised so far. All right, $500 level. I just want to say, if you came here as a guest of someone, this organization means a lot to them. It's the reason they're here. It's the reason they invited you. We have 3 levels left. We would love it if you donated one of our last 3 levels, $500, $250, or $100. How about it today at $500? Number 359, number 773, number 442, number 286, number 278, number 463, number 410, number 461, number 456, number 172, number 482, number 793, number 772, number 779, number 240, number 276, number 799, number 116. I think I read yours, sir. Did I say it wrong? Okay, I'll say it again just in case. He doesn't mind being charged twice. Number 276, number 324, number 173, number 312, number 170, number 279, number 299, number 492, number 156, number 358, number 440, number 150, number 479, number 439, number 140, number 296, number 326, number 290, number 280, number 374, number 786. How many was that? That was 39 people. Could we get one more? One more at 5. Number 309, number 462. You want to still come in? We get number 149. Thank you. Appreciate you. That's 42 people, so that was $21,000 at that level. We're on the verge of $200,000. Thank you, David. Appreciate you jumping in again. Okay, $250. $250? How about now? We got number 783, number 157, number 160, number 332, number 308, number 360, number 164, number 425, number 467, number 234, number 130, number 368, number 266, number 270, number 443, number 353, number 790, number 292, number 303, number 460, number 769, number 428, number 471, number 470, number 108, number 489, number 104, number 153, number 784, number 409, number 364, number 770, number 370, number 107, number 455, number 102, number 403, number 310, number 267, number 282, number 269. How many was that? That was 41 people at $250. We're at 207, 250. We'll live with that. We'll live with that. So we're at 207, 250. The last level that we have is $100. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask everyone to do what you did at the very beginning. Everyone hold up your paddles. We're going to ask you to just turn in your paddle for $100. We're going to have volunteers that are coming through the room, and they're just going to pick up the paddle. So if you're willing to donate $100, please raise your paddle. If you've already made a gift, we say thank you for your generosity. Tag on $100. If you have not yet made a gift, we say thank you. Hold them up high. Hold them up high. We've got volunteers coming through the audience right now, and they will grab them. Oh, and yes, thank you. We will do a drawing. Once we get all of the $100 paddles in, we're going to do a drawing. We have 3 of these that are signed by Gracie Gold, and we will do a drawing for each of the 3. So 3 people are going to win these pennants. And so hold them up high so they can see you. We get those all turned in. And then the next thing that we're going to do, we are going to sit down with Gracie Gold and have a conversation. All right, so we were at 207, 250 before we started picking up all the paddles. We'll find out what our total was and share that with you in a little bit. All right, right now I want to invite Gracie to come on up here and join me on the stage. Hello there. Good, please. So we didn't give Gracie much of an introduction. We're about to as we sit down here. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. This turnout is incredible, and yeah, the room is beautiful, and thank you guys so much for being here.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So let me just set the stage here for people and tell you just a little bit about Gracie Gold, just a tiny bit of your curriculum vitae. She is an Olympic medalist, a 2-time national champion, a 4-time Grand Prix medalist, a New York Times best-selling author of this book, Out of Shape, Worthless Loser. I won't read the subtitle either. She has become a mental health advocate. She won the Bell of Hope Award for helping to break the stigma about mental health, and now she's an International Olympic Committee mental health ambassador. Everyone give a warm welcome to Gracie Gold.
Thank you.
All right, so any of you who have read the book, you know that this book is amazing. She is so candid in talking about her mental health journey, and it starts with a bang. It starts with her in a recovery facility. We're going to start earlier than that. Let's start at the beginning of, kind of give us an idea of when did you start skating, and then when did you realize that you and others around you realized you were good at skating?
So the first time I ever stepped on the ice, I was 8 years old, and it was in Springfield, Missouri, so not a figure skating mecca, right? Very small town. There were 4 of us in my Learn to Skate class. There could be 900 in a San Diego Learn to Skate class, just to give you that. And, my friend had his birthday party at the ice rink, so we had cake, opened presents, and then we hopped on the ice for an hour public skates, and I immediately fell in love. I had done a lot of other sports before that, and they were fine. My parents, I was a high energy child. I think this, how we would say it now. And so sports were the ideal outlet for me. But skating was the first sport that I thought, oh, wow, like I want to do this. This is not just something that my parents are driving me to. And I wasn't super talented or super good. I certainly wasn't a child prodigy, but I was very passionate, and I remember people saying that I had hops. So, I had really big jumps, but I didn't really care about anything else related to skating. Jumping was really what I was there for. And it took I was really not that great at skating for quite a long time, but that's how much I love the sport, is that being not very good was fine. And for a perfectionist, that was kind of mind-blowing at the time. It wasn't until I was 14 that I had my first big break in skating. And by the time that I felt confident in myself, which was when I was 14, and I was at the level we call novice, and I had landed all of my triple jumps. So it took me that long to sort of feel good about myself and think, oh, maybe I could do something kind of good in this sport. So quite a long time.
Gotcha. Okay, so you started 8. At 14, you're now starting to show some promise. Obviously people around you are seeing something about you. They're putting coaching into you, they're putting time on the ice into you. You have a passion for it. At what point did you, now looking back, do you feel like the expectations started to grow and the pressure really started to build?
The expectations for me really started to grow after my junior year. So in skating, senior level is the top. So that's when we got, when we all watched the Olympics and the World Championships. In skating, that's the senior level. So right below that was junior level. And that's when a lot of skaters are first sent out internationally. And so we get to represent our country for the first time, not just ourselves, our parents, our club. So it just has a different energy to it, right, when you have the flag on your back. And my first junior year, I think catastrophic is a good word for it. I underperformed in a way that I didn't know was possible. And I had grown almost 6 inches that year. So I had a new body, and I couldn't jump very well anymore, which was a devastating loss to me personally. And then my second junior year, I went from that absolute catastrophic disaster to second at the Junior World Championships. And that jump really I started to feel some stress going into my first senior year, because the next season after that was the Olympics. So it was catastrophic, won't make the team, to, oh, I actually might make this team. And then actually going to the Olympics seemed more real. And that's when I first started to feel stress related to my sports and expectations from other people. I always had really high expectations for myself, right? Sometimes my passion for things, the line between passion and obsession for some of us is but a gossamer thread. And, skating was very much my special interest, and it was mostly about me and what I thought I was doing well. But, the concept of representing the United States at the Olympic Games in the most watched Winter Olympic sports was a different level of intensity. And of course, with the last name Gold, had its own, although my parents did well with naming me, I will say I don't think they prepared to see, newspaper articles that said, Gracie, Mrs. Gold. Some of those were, just the little expectations like that started really piling up.
Right, right. And well, I have to say one thing. To any of the Raiders fans in the room, when she said a second junior year, she did not mean what it meant for you.
Do you write the Raiders jokes ahead of time, or are these just stream of consciousness?
They just bubble up. They just bubble up. It's a constant stream of thought.
Beautiful.
You talked about dealing with this pressure with 3 overlapping personas. Tell us what those personas were and how did they help you?
So I started to develop like what I kind of wrote in the book, right? Because I separated into these 4 personas, which was Grace Elizabeth, which was my childhood self that was someone other than a figure skater, and then Gracie Gold, which was kind of the skating star. And skating is an interesting sport because it's a sport of perfections and sometimes illusion. So our whole sport is that we're supposed to do the hardest things possible while making them look effortless, which doesn't really make any sense, right? But and also off the ice, figure skating has a bit of a, people would describe it as a classy sport, which has its own weight to it, right? But we're not, I see tennis players, smash their rackets. And in skating, you would be canceled, even before canceled was a thing. That behavior is just not, because we're a classy sport.
Right.
That's, again, the phrase that people like to use. And when you have to feel classy, and, I'm more of a wild child firework, and I almost kind of created this like fake ice princess Barbie, as well did in some ways the media or people that saw me, I was just this kind of ice princess, and I looked like ice skating Barbie, and I looked like Elsa, and the reception, like people loved her, and I think in a lot of ways it was easy for me not to be vulnerable at all, and so I just kind of followed like, oh yeah, no, I'm the perfect ice princess. I'm Gracie, I can be Gracie Gold, like I can do this, and it just sort of followed me, but in some ways that expectation of being perfect 24 hours a day just is not realistic for anyone. And then as life started to get more difficult for me, it was very Black Swan-esque, where I just saw the mirror kind of fracturing and like my, I wasn't lining up with what I saw in the mirror at all. And that's, once those cracks started, I realized at some point that they were all the way to the foundation. And in some ways it helped me because I got to be somebody that people liked, and in some ways it was a shield, right? Because if somebody didn't like Gracie Gold, that, it didn't mean that they didn't like me, because they didn't even know me. But in other ways, it was this way of isolating me from everyone else, because then at the end of the day, nobody actually knew me. Right. And so I would be in a room full of people that knew Gracie Golds, and I would never feel more alone.
It's interesting you say that, because in team sports, that's very common. That I walk into a stadium here in Denver, everybody cheers for me, and I say, "Oh, hey, thanks." And they're like, "Reggie, yeah." I walk into an opposing stadium, everyone boos me, and at first you take that personally, but then you start to realize, no, nobody knows me. They're not cheering me; they're cheering the jersey. They're not booing me; they're booing the jersey. And when you're putting on a jersey, that's easy. It seems like it's much more difficult. You're doing it, but as an individual, it feels like that would be so personal all the time.
Yeah, there is something about, so when I was younger, my mother described so kindly that I had the personality best suited for individual sports, which I didn't realize at the time what that really meant. And I just thought, oh yeah, I thought it's because I was a star. And that's not what she meant. But sometimes in skating, it can be, you really are alone. Like when you skate out and they call your name and you're surrounded, by tens of thousands in an arena, it really is just you, right? And you're in like the smallest dress and you're just balancing on 2 knives, right? And you're like, okay, here it goes, guys. It can be, sometimes I wish that I did like pairs or ice dance, which are the 2 partner disciplines, because I thought, oh, maybe it is nice to at least have one other person. And sometimes I always wondered with team sports, what that was like, having a whole team and, people that understood you and had those big moments with you. Although I was never very good at sharing, I think it might be nice.
Right,
Yeah, I always
sure.
looked at team sport athletes and I thought, must be so like warm and rich to experience that with a community.
Sure, yeah. And you know, in your sport, if you make a mistake, you just get a deduction. In other sports, I was watching, a game on Sunday. Trevor Lawrence, everybody saw that game where the guard stepped on his foot as he's taking he's a quarterback. He falls on the ground. He tries to get up. He falls back on the ground. He gets up. He avoids a tackler, avoids another tackler, scores a touchdown with 23 seconds left, and they win the game. If he gets inducted in the Hall of Fame someday, they're going to show that play where he fell down. But in your sport, there's no redeeming, like your best play could never be the play where you made a big mistake.
Yeah, in a sport, and it's crazy because in a sport like skating, when I'm teaching and the kid's like, oh, but, I might fall on it. I'll ask to see, like, let's try their double loop or double axel. And they're like, okay, well, I might fall. And I say, no, right. So you're going to fall on this jump, like, every day for probably the next 6 months. Skating that's the irony, right, of when we present the perfect program is it's a falling sport and it is a sport of failure. You just have to fail as many times as you can to find the one way to not fail. And it is, we have such a short time. Like our Olympic moment is like 7 minutes. That's as long as we get between the short program and the free program. And you really do have to be perfect. Otherwise, your falls are when they do play a montage, our music changes. It's sad music, right? The quarterback, you're going to get the inspirational music building up and the touchdown. That's the part in figure skating when we fall or make even a single mistake, that's where the montage starts to go like this, right? We have the bummer music before we come back. And it is a sport where failure is seen as, I get that a lot sometimes people, especially if they're not figure skating fans, they're like, oh, so do you like fall down? I'm like, oh, more than you know. I have probably fallen on more jumps in my life than I've landed because that's what figure skating takes, is it's a really brutal, messy sport. Like who's ever fallen on ice in the winter, right? Like slipped and fell? Yeah, so we do that like for a living. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just for those 7 minutes of perfection. And sometimes it makes you feel crazy where you're like, oh, I actually was a whole mess on practice, but then you nail those, the 2 minutes and 50 seconds, the 4 minute and 10 second long program, and you're like, oh, maybe I am perfect. For 7 minutes, I can be perfect. That's what we train for, is to be perfect for just 7 minutes.
You would be a great insurance adjuster. Like, show up at somebody's house, I'm here to investigate your slip and fall. What is it? What happened?
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that serious to me. Okay, so you're doing all of this. 2014, you win the national championship. You go to Sochi, you win a medal. When do things start to turn for you?
I would say, well, the first time that I ever experienced what now in hindsight was some mental health struggles was, interestingly enough, after the Olympics. And I was unfamiliar with kind of this concept of the post-Olympic depression, because when you have such a high, then to just go back, and so now we're just going to a regular, like no other competition feels, you're like, well, I was just at the Olympics, and now I'm at like, a competition in Yorba Linda. Like this rink used to be a grocery store. Like what's happening? And it's hard to build up to that again, because just such a high. But I remember feeling like, I think something is wrong with me. Like I was like, oh, I think I'm unable to experience joy perhaps, because I thought, why would I like feel this way? Like I just had the most incredible Olympic journey with, winning my first championships to the Olympics. I just baked cookies with Taylor Swift, and like, why do I feel not, like I'm having trouble getting going? And looking back, I was like, oh, that was actually a bit of depression. But at the time, I was like with most people, like under the delusion that, there were certain things that could exclude you from mental health. And a lot of times I feel like with depression, there's a certain level of success that if you achieve, people feel that you are immune to depression or like you don't qualify, right? Because for society, I find that people are typically really welcoming of mental health issues, but only certain ones and only if you fit their idea of the symptom checklist. So for my depression rate, or rate, if the world is blue, or if you're really sad, if it's within a couple weeks after a catastrophic event, you know, if you fit those checklists, then people, of course, are really sympathetic to depression after a divorce, a loss of a loved one, you know, a catastrophic natural event. But, you know, I found that I had like the sympathy of kind of a bummed out, successful Olympian was nowhere to be found.
Right.
If anything, they're like, well, you know, depression doesn't happen.
Right.
Like, what do you have to be depressed about?
Yeah, you just won everything. What are you worried about?
Yeah, they're like, what's the big deal? And I'm like, I don't, but at the time I just remember thinking, I think there's something wrong with it. People are supposed to be jazzed up. Like I'm supposed to go into this next season, you know, feeling like I could conquer the world, and yet I'm just not into it. And that was the first brush I had with it. And then it wasn't really struggles with mental health. I would say it was a complete nuclear meltdown and a complete mental health break. And that was pretty famously in 2017, in the summer, and then I was in treatment in the fall, which in the fall of 2017, to find yourself in a rehab facility with the Winter Olympics that next February was not where I expected to be. Right, I was supposed to be at Cup of China competing, and instead, you know, I'm in rehab in the middle of a desert. I thought, how did we get here?
Right. So what happened during that summer?
So it was really the year before. What started it off, what really kind of kickstarted what I would say the avalanche is that we had some fractures and things, some cracks in the foundation. And, you know, we just kept pushing through because that's what athletes are supposed to do. And, you know, I like pretty intense parents. They were not like, you know, the tiger moms and the crazy skating parents that, you know, we want to see on TV. They were, though, intense go-getters. You know, my mother, to this day, still chooses to work night shift in the ER. She was a prison nurse, like, briefly, and, like, in the psych. So that's where she feels most comfortable. So that was who raised me, just to let you know how much we tolerate. But, you know, I was supposed to push through. We just had to keep pushing through. So there were lots of things that had started the 2015-26 season, but we just kept pushing through, and I feel that because I continued to be successful, that it was overlooked. I feel like a lot of mental health stuff is overlooked or brushed to the side or just told it's not that big of a deal if you can still be successful with it. I feel like that's a big one. The first time I won, the NHK that I won, which is one of the Grand Prix fall events, international, and this one's in Japan.
What does NHK stand for? NHK?
That is such a great question for someone else, but
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We'll look it up.
Yes. No, we have some of U.S. figure skating has been so generous to come, so that is a great question for table 30. If you guys want to ask after, I should know, and
National
the fact that
high
I don't.
kicking kangaroos. Yes, it's all good. Yeah.
That's it. How did you know?
Yes.
And well, that's like their broadcasting station. So now I feel too embarrassed to even guess, but I believe it'd be like if we had like the ABC trophy or NBC trophy.
Gotcha.
I feel that it's that.
Okay.
Again, that's a feeling though, not a fact. I want to be clear about that. And so, but it's the big event in Japan, and I competed with a subluxed cuboid, which is, fun fact, a bone in your foot that you can break. And I found out about that bone's existence when it subluxed and cracked. So let me tell you, it's there, and it hurts. But the fact that I competed and previous management at U.S. Figure Skating allowed me to compete with a broken foot because I ended up winning, and was actually the first American woman to win that event. We just really kind of forgot about that. It was just not a big deal. When in hindsight, that was actually a really big deal. That was definitely not something that should be encouraged, but because I was successful, it was fine, right? Or, well, that, not ideal, but the competition went well, so it's fine, don't worry about it. And I feel like that happens a lot with mental health and especially with athletes, right? If it's going well, great.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of abuse within athletes and from coaches, if it's going well, it's somehow fine, and it's just overlooked. And I've always found that to be the most maddening. But when I stopped performing well, and also in the sport of skating, when my eating disorder that I had now had for quite some time swung the other way, then that's really when it became the biggest red flag, which I'm still a little bit offended by. Because skating is what we call an endurance sport, but back in the day it was called like a skinny sport. They have obviously rebranded. And no, you know what I mean? I would say it's not a welcoming, not all bodies are welcome. Actually, very few are in the sport of skating. It has a very specific aesthetic because it's classy, right? Again, we always have to circle back to that. And so when I was underperforming and had put on weight, that's when people started to notice. And my meltdown was because, you know, when it all came to a head and I was also not super enjoyable to be around at this time, something to take note of. And we had a big meeting. The takeaway from that meeting is that I could have my Grand Prix assignments back, so my international assignments, if I lost weight. And so that was the big takeaway, is like if I lost weight and then subsequently I guess that means my performance would magically be better, then it would all be fine. And that is where I had what we try to fondly call the nuclear meltdown, which is where I told the powers that be exactly what I thought of that and everything about them too. Just hindsight not necessary, although very therapeutic.
They're a bunch of NHKs, those guys.
Let me tell you. You don't even. I said keep talking.
Wow. So the nuclear moment happens, and how did you know at that point that, hey, I'm having a real problem versus what people describe you as, oh, you're just a spoiled brat, you're just having a temper tantrum. How did you know that, no, this is something is really happening to me right here?
So I sort of didn't know until I had been in rehab for a couple weeks, but there were, thank God, some people that could actually see that it was more than that and that this was actually something, that this in fact was a crisis. And so I want to say maybe 10 days after that event, like Brandon Cycle, someone I always shout out, and like Carolyn Silby, and they were, after they saw this meltdown, they were the ones that got me the paperwork and got me into the Meadows treatment facility. Right. And then even at the time I thought like, well, I don't need all of this. This is for people, you know, that have like something wrong with them. And they were the ones that held up a mirror. Well, because really therapy is like somebody walking you through your own brain saying like, you live like this? How long have you been living like this? And that's, you know, we had to really walk through the whole home before I thought, oh, do other people not live like this? And they're like, no. It's like like on TV, like the hoarders realizing that there is a problem. And I had just been so blinded, you know, by some of my successes, I'd felt that some things were normal. And so it was probably 2 weeks, maybe 3 into that stay where I finally was like, oh, this is actually not just, because I just thought I couldn't hack it. I just thought at some point like, oh, I've just lost my spark. Like I just don't have what it takes to be a figure skater anymore. And they said, oh no, this is actually a full-blown mental health crisis. Right. And so it took me a while.
Yeah. When you have that realization, what feeling did it make you panic more? Did it give you a sense of, oh, relief, like it's identified and you have something to target now?
It was a mix of relief and also a little bit of embarrassment and shame, because the embarrassment and shame came from the fact that I realized like I was part of the problem, like I was part of the stigma and had continued unintentionally to perpetuate it even within my own mind, because I thought that it didn't happen to people like me, right? That I didn't qualify, that it had to be something, right? As I said, the checklist. And I actually realized that even with my, you know, own eating disorder and my anxiety and my depression, that I actually did qualify and that those things could happen to me. I just thought, well, no, that's people that go to the Olympics, like we don't get to feel that, right? Or it's like, you know, win a Super Bowl, like grow up. And I realized like, oh, I'm actually part of the problem. And that I realized that mental health didn't discriminate on age, gender, you know, race, levels of success, anything like that. And then I also did have a sense of relief that there wasn't something fundamentally wrong with me. And that was really from my therapist, who was like, she's like, maybe you are just, I'll never forget that. She's like, maybe you are just so special. Maybe you are the only one in the whole world that you are just so broken beyond repair, and that you are just so special, Gracie. Maybe you are. Alternatively, what if you are not that special and that you are also allowed to seek help for some of your problems? And I really just sat there for quite a bit of time and was like, oh, yeah, maybe, I guess. She's like, why would you think that you're so special, that you're so broken beyond repair? Like, why would you think that you're that unique? And I was like, oh, let me sit down. Okay. No, you're right. It's like, let me just sit with that for a bit. But yeah, it was a journey, to say the least.
Yeah. I would say that you strike me as a very coachable person. Like, obviously, you had coaching that helped you become successful. When you started seeking mental health, you accepted coaching and you progressed.
I am either very coachable or the least coachable person. And I think the fact that I can flip between those two has driven, one of my coaches to retirement. And, rest in peace, Frank Carroll, but I was it. I was his last one.
He was only 39 too. I mean, it was just so sudden.
Yeah, it was. He said, I'll see all of you guys later. And I had moments where I was coachable. I was coachable as I got older. When I was younger, I really do say I was not. I was definitely a nightmare to coach, and I was certainly a nightmare to parents. I think that the parent of any, and I look at my parents, they were not athletes at all, in any fashion. They don't know anything about sports. And so if you had told them, oh, your daughter's going to be an Olympic figure skater, they would have been like, yeah, sure, and the other one's a movie star. Okay. They didn't have any concept of that, and so I do look back and I look at my coaches and my mom, how do you raise an Olympian, and then how do you raise one that is really vocal and has very big opinions and very big feelings? God bless her. I think that's really a triumph for, to parent any athlete. What do you do? How do you know when it's too much? How do you know when it's not enough? How do you know when you should stand by your kid, or when do you stand by the coach and the trusted professional? Like, how many outside voices? It can be overwhelming. And I was, as a child, struggled. Well, my mom said that I took criticism really well, as long as the criticism was exactly what I thought it was. So, super well, super easygoing. But my mom tried to harness it in that she's like, well, her passion/obsession can be good. Her perfectionism, like, how can we turn this? My mom was really good at redirection. And eventually she was able to sort of help my coaches with this vision, where my mom described me as one of those wind-up cars that you pull back and it just shoots forward. And she's like, well, sometimes that car, like Gracie, will just hit the wall and she'll just keep going, right? So we have to help her kind of move from that wall, and then she'll just go again. So my mom's like, we have to pivot and redirect. But my mom was also really good and was able to help guide my coaches in how to manage me, because she was really proud of some of the strong, independent, I grew up in a very matriarchal home, despite, like, I don't know how a lot of people are raised at that time, and I have older parents, but it was a matriarchal home. We knew who was in charge from day one, my mother. Right. And she, though, was really good at, choosing the traits that she thought would really help me, and it's like, how do we harness this for good? Because she didn't want me to lose any of that fire and, like, any of that passion and standing up for myself, and I was always standing up for my sister or anybody that I saw that I thought was treated what I perceived to be unfairly. And she's like, so how do we do this in a way that doesn't make adults cry? That's what we're going for, Gracie. But as I got older, I became more coachable, and I also think I became more coachable because I always had some empathy for others, but it took me a long time to develop empathy for myself. And it also took me a long time to separate as an athlete, like, if they were criticizing my sports and how I was performing, or if they were criticizing me. And so when I was able to separate those and actually develop some empathy for myself, it really transformed my life in the way that I became coachable on and off the ice.
Gotcha. That's great. Well, this is a room full of people. Many are parents, grandparents. We all ride that line of, hey, our kids have a passion for something, but we still have to get on them to do their homework. We got to get on them to pack their bag. We got to keep the pressure on for them to do this thing that we think that they really like doing. But are we pushing it? Are they choosing it? What advice do you give? And from a person who's been at that elite level, how do we navigate something like that?
I mean, that is really that is the question to ask. And when parents or coaches will sometimes ask me, I always preface with, I don't have the right answer, and I don't know if I'm even qualified as not being a parent to answer. But what I can tell you is that the times where I felt like, know your student, and also when you're a parent, like, know your kid. And I think one of the things my mom did really well is, I have a twin sister, and she also skated through until she went to college, and now she's a big finance girly. But, we competed in skating together our whole lives, but we are very different people. And so my mom was really good between both of us, being able to help guide my coaches and also her parenting. And I had the capacity to be pushed a little bit more because I also pushed back more. But my twin sister was the opposite, right? That's why I talk so much, because I did talk for both of us for like 15 years. But she was really good at like knowing me and what was at the end of the day most important to me. And I think what she said was that she's like, Gracie, you always regret the things that you don't do more than the things that you end up trying to do. And so she always pushed me to do the most, because she's like, you're just better with that. Like, maybe you did do it and it was too much. I was like, you just sleep better knowing that you fully committed, and that anything that I have committed to, even if it kind of went okay, never sat well with me. But my sister was much softer. She was, especially in our youth, like much more liked, always teacher's pets, but she couldn't be, her push to breaking point came much earlier. And so with helping coaches and even in school, like my mom had to be much softer with her. But I always say, like, know your kid. And the coach, if you don't understand the kid, like ask the parent, or like ask the kid, like ask their friends, like, know who you're teaching. And parents, like, your kid better than anyone. And, you'll know because at some point, if you push them to their breaking points, is that even worth it? And so that's the big one, right? But also my mom was like, I felt like I had to push you, because my mom's like, I thought that you would hate me more if I didn't push you and you didn't end up living your dream than if I pushed you too far and, you thought I was too hard on you. And mom's like, if I had to pick, I never want you to hate me, but my mom, she had to pick of the two. She's like, I'd rather you hate me for like pushing you to your dream than just letting you like float by and sometimes or often self-destruct.
Gotcha. That's great. My son's 22 now. When he was 14, shut up, Dad, was his way of saying I love you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in middle school years, I say those are my least favorite to coach, and I think, like, also to live, right? Like, some people peak in high school, but I've never met anyone that was like, 7th grade was my time. It's, like, just the worst. It's, the best we could say is it's character building. But they're also to be a middle schooler, I find that is, like, in some ways peak bullying, because you and your peers have developed critical thinking and some self-awareness, but empathy doesn't develop for a few more years. So critical thought without empathy, even as an adult, you'll get your feelings hurt.
Yeah, right. Okay, we have a few minutes left. You're now an International Olympic Committee Mental Health Ambassador. First of all, what is that, and why did they create it?
So it's a collection of, there's a couple of us, and we're all from around the world. And the best way that I can describe, I think, why they created it is, for those that are familiar with any type of anonymous program, right? Like, the sponsor really has to be someone that's been through the program. And there is something about having somebody, guide you to the light, so to speak, that has experienced and literally has like, oh no, I've actually experienced exactly everything that you've been through. And so in some ways, I feel like that's what they're trying to do with like real athletes that have been through the highs and the lows and everything in between of Olympic and just, I even say like high level sports, and to really connect with the athletes that way of saying like, no, I've literally done this. I'm not just reading data from, a computer. I know exactly what you feel and have done this dance, and we want now this next generation to go through it, but with as much support as possible. Because I always say in sport, like, physical health, you have everything that you need available for you all the time. And the concept of injury prevention is preached at you, since like the first time you ever work out or stretch. Injury prevention, injury prevention. I could recite every handbook and like seminar I've been to ever. And with mental health, there just isn't that. There was barely, especially in sport, any treatment for it, let alone the concept of maybe what if we could just prevent this from happening? That's the dream, right? And so I want those to be side by side. I want the Olympic Training Center to have a wing for physical health and to have its own separate wing for mental health. Like, because let's even prevent it from happening. Because by the time you get to the nitty gritty where, I myself, was looking at how tall buildings were, yes, we can talk about what to treat there, but what if we just didn't have to get there? What if we didn't have to talk to 13-year-olds about eating disorders? And so I think with the IOC ambassadors, we want to talk with the athletes specifically and kind of serve as a like mouthpiece and passing it on, because I do believe that the IOC is like really invested in breaking the stigma, and not just with words of, yay, mental health, right? But actually doing something. And so we have some of the big ones are like the welfare officers that are stationed all around the games, and there's the 24/7 helpline, which is from an independent company, so it's not related to sport at all. And they have, the only people that will answer the phone are trained counselors or psychologists, and they're available 24 hours a day at, whenever you're at the Olympics for any Olympic athlete, or staff. We have the Mind Zone, and I've been working at getting that, not just from the Olympic level, but trying to bring it down into all world level events and national events and internationals. Which is just a separate space where the athletes can actually process what's going on. A lot of times at events, right, you're just stuck at the venue or your hotel room, and it starts to feel like, how do I feel caged in a city like Tokyo? Why am I, and you start to almost claw at the walls. Let's just prevent that from even feeling that way. And starting in Milan, Milano Cortina this February, the Mind Zone, or Calm Zone is just like the figure skating brand. It's actually Mind Zone, sponsored by Powerade. They will also have private consultation pods, so for people that maybe are still feeling some of that shame or embarrassment of asking for help, let's just meet them where they are, and we don't need to convince them that they shouldn't feel that way, but let's just say, oh, that's great, see that kind of sketchy looking hallway by the exit? That's actually where they are. So we have hidden that entrance for you, so you can go seek one-on-one help at any time. And it's just been such an honor, and I see it as a privilege, but also a really big responsibility. And whenever I look at athletes of any level and this next generation, the thought of them going through what a lot of us have gone through is it makes me so sad to even think about. And so I see it as a responsibility, to all the kids out there that are growing up that dreaming of the Olympics, and they think that it's just so awesome and easygoing. I want to make it that for them. Yeah. I don't want them to have to, suffer the way that previous generations have suffered. Right. I want them to, whatever your bubblegum pink dream is, and it's just sparkles and lights and cameras, yes, that's what I want. I want it to be exactly what you think of as you were a kid, and I want it to be just as magical.
That's wonderful. Well, very final question here. As you're talking, I'm thinking about Simone Biles and whether her stepping back like she did would have been possible a decade ago, or if the culture would have accepted it.
I think a decade ago, in my personal opinion, it would have been, she would have stepped back from a physical injury. I think that's what they would have said, and I sometimes look back and think how many physical injuries were actually something else, but we didn't know how to call it, or she just would have been forced to have one of those Olympic moments that is, she just would have been forced to go through it, because that's in some ways glamorized in sport, right? The suffering that must go into it, and when they play the montages in the movies, right, there's that whole chapter where And it's sort of glamorized where it's like, oh, you can push through that, so that must make you somehow better than the other athletes. And as an athlete, you know, I think that's how, especially in a endurance or like skinny sport like skating, I think eating disorders get romanticized because, you know, and I remember like looking at my competitors like, well, I beat you and I didn't even eat today. So like flags, when in fact that's like really deep, dark sickness, but because it was going well and, you know, the sense of control and all those things. But what was the even start of that question? Sorry.
It was
I really just like
just
left
about-
someplace else. That was crazy.
Yeah, it was okay. It was about Simone Biles. And
Oh my
how
God,
the
yes.
culture
I was
has
like, wait,
changed.
what are we talking about? Yeah, but the culture, I think, has changed, though, because even the fact that she thought it was possible to say what was going on, I think is a step forward. The reception, I think, was troublesome, because I always said, like, if she had a broken leg, I don't think people on Twitter or X, whatever, would be like, oh, yeah, well, let me see the x-ray, prove it, right? That's, nobody would say that, and yet with mental health, it's like, she just doesn't want to face them. Or, you know, some in skating, they were like, oh, they just don't want to face the Russians. Like, and it's like, what? No, why? You know, they need some sort of tangible proof. And that to me is just indicative of a society that's still not where we need to be. But I do feel like it was brave, because if you're going to post something that you know you're going to get flamed for on social, this generation like really understands like kind of how scary that is and the level of bravery that does take. And to be so honest, is just as she was, like, I think it was a step forward because she said it and actually survived it. And, you know, people are always afraid of what they don't understand. So I hope as we continue to understand more about mental health, and specifically in sport, there will be some less fear and less hostility and more welcoming. And I think that comes with time and with great work like all of us are doing here today.
Gracie Gold, everyone. Thank you, Gracie.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Great
Great
job.
time.
Yeah, you bet. Well, stay here for just a second. So I think we have our pendants, and so we have 3 people who are going to win pennants. Yeah, come on up here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Here, why don't we give these to Gracie?
Okay.
We have, see, we took your number so you don't remember what your number is, but Stephanie Zavila, or Zavia, come on up here, please. Come on up here. We have, Radovich Piper, or Danielle? Danielle Radovich Piper, come on up here, please. And we have Stephanie Zavia. Oh, that was the first one, huh? You know? Enrique Lopez. Enrique
Oh,
Lopez.
do you want a picture? Yeah, he's always ready.
All right. To the rest of you, we're all done? We're all done? To the rest of you, thank you so much for being here to support the Johnson Depression Center. We appreciate you being here. Many of you have been here year after year after year. This is the 15th anniversary. We really appreciate you. If you're first time, we hope to see you back again next year. Be safe, everybody. Thank you.